Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is a scene for SEPTA, the Southern Gate. You know what, fuck it. And this scene is taking place in, this is actually a bit of a flashback scene for one of the NPCs. We thought you'd enjoy it. Andre, a gentleman of refinement and charisma, is leaving his quite nice apartment in the Aventura area of Miami one day, and he's preparing to go somewhere, just leaving for the day. And as he comes outside to prepare to pick his car up from valet, because yes, he lives in a high-rise that has a valet, he hears a noise, a scuffle, raised voices, tension, which I imagine sends his gaze in that direction. As his eyes look over and sweep to meet the scuffle near him, he hears a sharp crack. 3 shots raise up, and he feels the burning pain of lead tear through his chest. A lover's quarrel with shots having fired broad. He hits the floor. His world begins to dim as he sees people move around him, rushing, chaos exploding. But for him, everything just seems to slow down. And it's not as though his world is dimming. No. It's graying. And for a moment, he's just left with everything slowing down around him as he realizes he's dying. You can narrate where his thoughts are.
Andre's thoughts turn to his life, like many people in their dying times. He thinks about, probably about who is going to find him, when they might find him, about what led his life to be here, things that he may or may not regret. He goes over deals that he shouldn't have made that went really well, and deals that he should have made that he didn't. And he's just sort of analyzing his life choices. And there is that fear at the back of his mind, just gnawing at every memory. The knowledge, the cold, the gray.
As he's laying there on the cold concrete, bleeding out, he notices that the people around him are becoming very fuzzy as his vision shifts. But then he hears footsteps, very clear, kind of pushing through the buzz of the chaos. And he notices that a figure approaches him as he's laying there on the concrete and kind of looks down at him. This figure isn't fuzzy. It's almost too sharp and in detail. And it will tilt its head to the side as the image of a man begins to manifest. And he'll kind of look his form up and down and kind of look at his chest, and he'll kind of grunt softly. And in a British accent I can't do right now, he'll say, "That looks painful. I'd ask you how you're doing right now, but it seems like you're dying, and that seems very tacky." Not the dying part. I understand you have no control over that. The asking how you're doing when you're obviously bleeding out to death. And he'll just nod.
Tackier than a suit from JCPenney.
Oh, God. He rolls his eyes like, I know, right? He'll hold his hand down and kind of say, "Here, let me help you up."
Andre stares at this person if you can call, like, he's pretty sure this is the person, but he's like not sure about much right now because he was sure he was dying. Um, he he watches him studying this man's movements, studying the feeling about this man, just like trying to gauge this man's measure, much in the way that he would gauge any future contractor, to put it in a polite term.
He'll shrug and say, well, if you want to bleed out on the concrete, be my guest. And he'll like cross his arms, much like in his overlay.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Happy for the help. It's just a man in my position can't really refuse.
He'll extend his hand again.
He takes his hand, like unsure of what might happen when he does, but not like unsure of doing it.
He'll kind of grab it and pull him up. And he's very much aware of the fact that he is on the floor bleeding out to death, but he's also standing up. And he'll kind of lead him over to some benches that are near the entrance. And he'll be like, don't worry, I just want to have a talk for now. And he'll kind of like adjust his coat and sit down.
Andre feels very discomfited. He's aware that he's dying, even though things have sort of slowed in this man's presence, this person's presence. He sort of flexes his fingers, even though they feel a little bit stiff and cold. They still move. And he looks this man up and down and he says, "You definitely have my attention." And he sits down next to him in a manner much in the same way that he would approach a potential client.
Oh, the fucking hilariousness of that.
Oh, yeah.
He'll smile at him, kind of a slow grin. So, I've noticed you're in a bit of a bind. Kind of pint over at him.
That is definitely one way to put it. He just smiles a little bit, like, well, yeah.
I go by many names. I am less a being and more a concept, an abstract. For your knowledge and what fits your culture, I guess the best thing to ascribe to me is Satan. Lucifer? The Dark Lord. He'll roll his hand like there's so many.
Andre's eyebrows shoot up, but between his many dealings with not so savory characters, he has picked up this ability to not have to question the details too much, to sort of leave the finer points of things for a later time. And so this is going through his mind, and he says, "All right, how can I help you?"
Yeah, he'll tilt his head and smile softly, and he says, "You can call me Lucian."
Lucian, how may I help you?
I think it's how I may help you. I wasn't exactly coming to you for a deal right now.
I do not see why the two need be mutually exclusive.
This is why I love you. As a person and as a deal maker. I have a job offer for you. I understand that right now, again, I might be tacky, but he'll just nod. I can see how this might not be the best time to come forward to you with this. He'll just kind of look like...
Andre gets this smirk on his face, just the edge of the right side of his mouth tilting up in his telltale little smirk, and he says, well, I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, I can't tell you how true or how not true that is. If you don't take this deal,
now,
yeah, he's like, if you don't take this deal, unfortunately, I have to take you to hell. He'll just kind of nod.
Andre nods like he was totally expecting to be going to hell. Like, yep, yeah, that's
I'm feeling as though, although you are ready to accept going to hell, you're just not there today.
I will admit, Lucian, that if I could not go to hell today, I would be grateful.
Well, as the ancient saying goes, not today, Satan, not today.
He chuckles.
I do not have an agent right now. My last broker unfortunately shook her mortal coil off past the point of me being able to save her. She asked for forgiveness. He just shakes his head like
Sorry, go ahead.
That bitch.
Yeah, Andre's like left eyebrow just sort of arches itself. Well, if that's something you're worried about with me, I never ask for forgiveness.
So you're not seeking the absolution of God? You understand you're damned and you are fine with this?
He laughs. And he says, if I wanted the absolution of the man in the sky, I would have asked years ago, and I would not be who I am today.
Oh, thank myself. Oh, he just fans himself. I've been so worried.
I'm a fucking bastard. I know it. You know it. Anyone that works with me knows I'm a goddamn bastard. He just shrugs.
Literally, but your mother's poor life choices aren't on the table right now. Anywho, moving forward, I am willing to restore your mortal state if you are willing to swear your eternal allegiance to me to be my broker and agent.
He nods, and he looks over to his dead body, sort of lifts an eyebrow and tilts his head, and he's like, best offer I've ever made, or best offer I've ever taken. And he hands it. He puts out his hand. Care to explain the job details?
I know that you handle deals through your contracts and through application of your own magics. I can offer you the ability to give someone anything they want. In time, it may begin to chip at your humanity. But I don't really think that's something you care about now, is it?
His eyes get very intense, and his demeanor sort of shifts, because now this person is speaking like exactly his language. This person has his number and he knows it, and he's totally fine with this. And he says, no. And I don't see it becoming a problem. The way I see it, borrow time anyway.
He'll reach into his pocket and pull out a silver coin. An old silver coin, a piece of silver. And he'll flip it in his hands a few times, like between his fingers, like that finger thing.
Yep.
And he'll flip it up in the air, and it will turn into a gilded wooden coin. And he'll press it into your character's hand.
Andre takes all of this in stride. Just sort of he's being very, very patient. And for a man who is dying on the floor, he seems pretty calm, actually.
You've noticed that EMS has arrived and they've begun resuscitation efforts. He'll say, when you broker a deal that goes beyond your contracts and requires divine intervention, arrange the terms, and then take the coin upon your hand and think of me. I will connect with you and let you know if those terms are acceptable.
Yeah, he nods. I can do that, boss.
He'll shake hands with him.
Andre's grip is very businesslike. It's a nice, solid handshake, but it's not overly firm.
I will send for you a helper in time. As you are my agent and highest broker, you will need help. So a retainer will be arranged. Do you prefer a male or a female? Or do you not care?
He sort of smiles, thinks about it for a second. He says, as a graying gentleman, beautiful women can open many doors.
Don't you know silver foxes are all the rage? They're really coming into style now.
He shrugs, hence why I would need both. And meant like himself and a beautiful woman is like what his motions are.
I will send you an assistant that is lovely to look at as well as efficient.
He sort of inclines his head very respectfully. I thank you.
Actually, I have a daughter. It has been frustrating me lately. I'll send her. He'll nod.
And he smiles and nods.
Well, you will recover from this. He'll kind of point over at the body like that. You will recover from this, but you will have to do so mortally. Consider it he'll roll his hand like consider it I don't know. He'll just shrug. Trial by fire, I guess. And he'll reach out and kind of touch the center of his chest. Clear. And he jerks back into his body with resuscitation efforts being made over him.
Andre would gasp and in the back of his mind, just this little message to himself. Well, this is interesting.
He notices that as they are basically kind of fixing him up and going through things like that, one of the EMS will unfurl his hands and pull out the coin he was holding, and they'll drop it into like a an items bag. Like when you are trying to, like, they'll put his wallet, his cell phone, all that stuff in there, and drop his things into an items bag. And a young woman, I'll show you her picture later, but a young woman will walk up and basically go, um, I can take his things and take them from him. He can't see her, but that's not the point of the flashback right now, so you'll see it later. And then um, as he is lost in his thoughts, he hears a, "Are you okay?"
Andre shakes himself out of his reverie and he looks at the very handsome silver fox in front of him, a Mr. William Morgan for our listeners at home. and and he sort of just smiles and he says, "Yeah, just got lost in some memories there. Sorry about that." And he stirs his coffee, takes a sip.
That's fine. So, what do you do? That's what I asked.
I provide services for people who have nowhere else to go. And he smiled.
His brow will go up, but being the autumn consort, he knows fucking better than to ask.
His Andre's eyes are just sparkling, and he just sort of winks at William, just super self-confident, assured, just a wink.
I'm sorry, I was. Kim always brings out my sillier side. I'm not normally so. He'll kind of roll his hand. I'm
He
not
shrugs.
normally.
It's all right. I'm not here to judge you.
She has a way of. He'll chew his lip, unpinning people. She's so serious, that one. Oh my god! But when she when she lets go and when she just he'll just chuckle. I don't know how to say it.
It's fine. You don't have to make excuses for being entertaining with gorgeous women. And you
I
don't have to want to have sex with them to find them entertaining or to entertain them.
blush.
Andre just smiles, very clearly just looking at William like he wants to dig in.
He'll chew his lip. I I have a very bad history with. I have a very bad history with women.
Andre's smile falters, and his look gets a little more serious this time. I think a lot of us do. And I think the same can be said for the opposite. I've not had the best experience with men, but and he shrugs and sort of like waves his hand like he could care less about women. Just
My are you okay with me going into history?
he'll nod, by all means.
My wife, when I was married, I didn't know about the world of the lost until I met a young woman, Victoria. She was beautiful. Oh God, she was an enchantress. She had a daughter, Isabella, And my wife had had Isabella when she was very young, when she was actually 15. She got pregnant from her boyfriend at the time, and he abandoned her. What I didn't know at the time, was that he didn't abandon her. He was taken
He frowns. Taken.
by them, the gentry. So he came back looking for her and their daughter. And I had been married to her for 20 years. Our daughter had already grown and gone to college. Suddenly, this man came back into her life that had aged perhaps 10 years. She was insisting that it was her daughter's father. And I didn't understand. I was so lost and afraid. By that point, I was just a mortal. He'll look down and he'll look back up at him. But that's not the part that scared me. My sister, when I was a child, I had a twin sister. And my twin was taken by them. We were 5, and we were playing in the woods near our house. This was back when parents threw you out until the streetlights came on.
He nods like he completely understands.
She was beautiful. My little sister. No, my twin. I'm sorry. He actually corrects that. Like, he said that, and he corrects it. Her name was Mary. And we were inseparable. We even used to speak our own little language. And one day we were in the woods, and a woman came to us, and she took my sister and told her that she wanted to make her princess, and that she didn't need me.
Andre's face gets very, very serious. And he looks at William and he says, I'm sorry that you had to go through that.
That wasn't, that was the beginning of what I had to go through. What happened after that was so much more. My sister was taken, and I went home, and I told my parents what had happened. I told them that a woman of light and fire had taken my sister. I could barely speak. I was so overwhelmed by the presence of the gentry, and it warped my mind so badly that I fell silent. And I was committed. I couldn't speak. I was so afraid. I didn't speak for years. By the time I could speak, I was raving. I was a lunatic. I told them. They wrote the disappearance and her death off as because they found her body, you see. But they wrote her disappearance and death off as a normal abduction. And then spent the rest of my life convincing me that it was, that my brain had remembered things differently, magical thinking, all of those sorts of things. You know what I mean?
Andre will nod very, very quietly, very demurely, just giving William the room that he needed to talk.
I was released when I was 17. Cured. He'll shrug. Because I had spent my life in an asylum, all I had were books, education, learning. So I applied myself to what I had known, medicine. I became one of the top students in every school I had ever attended, because all I knew my entire life was a medical setting. For me, it was nothing. And my mind accepted and understood my sister had been abducted. That my brain, as a 5-year-old, had remembered it fantastically. He'll nod. But then my daughter's father came back. A tear slides down his cheek. And I realized it wasn't fantasy. That my sister had been taken by them. And I grew up my entire life being told I was wrong. That I had been living a lie. That I could have found her. That I didn't have to grow up alone when I was missing my shadow, my other half. And it almost broke me. The pain and fear it brought in me was terrible. It was so terrible. It was as though I had almost become lost myself. But the queen, bless her name, saw me. She saw the fear in me, and she saw the pain in me and the loss, and took me in. And made me her protector. Gave me a chance to be a part of this society, this world, because I had no world. I had no truth or place, even though I was, by this point, already starting to show silver in my hair. Had a life, a wife, children. I don't have the wife anymore. When her child's father came back, she seduced him, and in doing so got sloppy. His guilt was so great he told me about their affair. And then I started finding out about the others. And then I found out she had AIDS. and I watched her die. I wish I could say I felt sorry for her. But all I could feel was the anger of yet another lie. He grits his teeth.
As William goes through the telling of this incredible tale and story, this history that happened, when William gets to the part about the betrayal, it seems like Andre's demeanor shifts a bit. And he straightens up his suit and he looks at William and he says, "You are so much of a better man than me. I can tell you right now that she never would have seen the inside of a hospital." And there's like this dangerous edge to his eyes, just this implied feeling that he would have let her die like that without any hospital assistance.
I got a satisfaction from it. Mir, you see, her lover contracted the virus from her. There are ways of healing that are available to the lost. Great healings that far surpass anything that modern medicine could ever think to touch the most deadliest of diseases, cancers, viruses, things that could never be. Hell, limbs can be restored. For his infraction on me, Mir cursed his name so that he will never live without this. He will die, suffering. He suffers now. Thankfully, he's a member of the Winter Court. I actually care for him because of it. I care for him in a way. I understand it's not his fault what he did. He was newly returned, confused. His abuse had made him, in Arcadia, had made him a very troubled individual with a tilted mortal compass. Moral. So I help him.
I am not a forgiving man. And I take the social contracts, the deals, the promises made to other people, to each other, very seriously. For her to break her vows, her contracts, her word to you. And he just sort of clenches his fist and then flicks it out and takes a deep breath and lets it out. Like I said, you're a nicer man than I ever would be.
Thank you. And thank you for listening to me. It actually means a lot to me.
Andre will nod. Anytime. Really. Coffee, scotch. And he smokes a little bit. Sheets. Anytime.
I'll blush. I don't think I've talked over sheets in quite some time. I don't have time to. I don't really have time to entertain romantic company, to build the intimacy, and I don't actually like to. He'll shake his head.
Andre will nod, understanding without words, not needing to understand. And he gives William this look and he says, "You are a very attractive man, and anyone would be lucky to have you. I merely offer because," he shrugs. There's this smile to his face that just a small hint of maybe a little bit of embarrassment. I tend to come on strong sometimes when I like someone.
Oh, you like me?
He nods. I do. I'd like to get to know you more.
Oh,
Assuming that you would be also okay with that.
no, it looks like he's really not used to this, but not in a bad way, just in a very much caught off guard. And
Andre knows this, and he's just, his demeanor is very patient. And he sips his coffee and he says, "There's no rush. There's no need to make any decisions or claims now. But
no, it's not. Oh, he stumbles all over his words. He's just like, I'm so busy that I worry about being able to satisfy someone, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
He chuckles a little bit and he sets down his coffee.
Bitch, I'm Satan's Fatemaker. Fuck you. Oh, okay.
It was, he sets down his coffee and he looks at him and he says, "May I call you William?"
You can call me whatever you want. Some people call me Will, but it's up to you.
"William, I am not a complicated man." He smirks a little bit, knowing that it's only about him. I don't need anything or anyone to make me feel happy with myself. If you have a night to give, or 10 or 50, he just shrugs. Whatever you want to give, that you have to give, I'm willing to accept. I don't need to be made sure of myself. I don't need to be made comfortable. I like your company.
He'll chew his lip and smile. You have something about you that just snaps my attention and draws me in, and I can't put my finger on it. It's not sexy or romantic or debased like that. It's this. It's as though you know the taste of loss and hunger and didn't let it consume you. letting it weaken you. You. He just shakes his head. I don't know what it is about you.
Andre smiles. It's he feels a little flattered, and he says, "Well, I'm willing to offer you the time to figure that out."
He licks his lips because he's been so fucked, basically, that he's basically kind of given up, in a way, to anything meaningful or deeper than basically quick, meaningless sex or anything, basically. But he's getting tired of that. He's kind of getting tired of being alone, frankly, and of feeling as though it's wrong for him to want to get to know someone better, to make friends even, or to deepen his connections to people. And the isolation is really affecting him badly. So, although he does stay in deep thought for a moment, he'll nod. I think I'd like that. I'm sorry if I go slow. I don't really know what I want. All I know is that I don't want to be so isolated anymore.
Andre will nod, and he says, "I'm not asking for anything you can't afford to give, even if we're just friends. That's fine with me. If we become more than that," and he smirks, "that would be more than fine with me as well. But I'm not going to ask something of you that you're not willing to give." And he sort of smirks in this deeper sense of irony that William won't pick up on. "Not like I'm going anywhere."
He'll tilt his head at that, but not in a bad way. Just kind of more taking it in what he said. You are so intriguing. Something about you. I think I definitely want to get to know you better, but
He inclines his coffee cup. He inclines his head, coffee cup up, sort of in a like a mild toast, and he says, "Well, when you got the time, I do."
he'll smile. And he'll say, "Oh, having the time. God," he'll just shake his head like, "I don't have time ever. I don't know what I need to do to even get time. I don't even know what time is. What is this time you speak of?"
Andre will chuckle. "The most fickle thing."
You hear a soft voice like clear next to you.
Andre looks up.
His retainer is standing next to him. Hi.
He nods his head, and he turns back to William, and he says, "If you'll excuse me, it seems the business call."
I really hate to bother you, but your client killed himself. He'll just shrugs.
Andre takes a very deep breath and lets it out like he's trying not to get frustrated.
Hands up, hands up. She's like, I tried so hard. I tried to talk him back from the edge. But no, he jumped. He jumped. I tried. She'll shake her hands like, I'm sorry.
And he'll nod. All right. You're coming with me. Because you know we gotta tell him.
In public?
No.
God.
Please,
She'll fan herself. Oh my God. I've been waiting for this day my whole life.
He just rolls his eyes and he gives William an apologetic look. And he says, what is time?
It seems you seem pressed for it too. He'll say softly.
What is it that kids say these days? I'll text you.
You'll text me. YOLO. #blessed. Got it. He'll scribble down. He actually pulls out like a prescription pad. I fuck you not. And writes his number on it and will. And kind of slides it over to him.
Andre takes it and folds it very neatly and sticks it in the breast pocket of his very nice suit.
He'll smile at him. And kind of chew his lip. Okay, well,
We'll make time.
Okay, yeah. Definitely.
And he will leave with his retainer. After... Actually, he will walk up to the barista and he will pay off the bill and he will walk away with Marie.
Yeah, Marie will basically loop her arm into his when they get out, and she just kind of looks up at him.
Seems very businesslike. He straightens up his suit, takes a deep breath, nods his head just once, not saying anything, and continues. This corner.
No, she slaps his arm.
What?
She's like, spill the tea, and she slaps his arm.
He grins and he looks at her. A gentleman never tells.
Oh, well then thank God there are no gentlemen here.
He just smirks.
You dirty birdie. She'll just shake her head. Keep your secrets then.
He'll look back to see what William's doing through the window as he leaves.
Smiling and kind of looking at his phone.
He'll take out his phone and text him. Hey, #YOLO ?
He'll text back #FOMO ? And Marie will kind of look at his phone. It's like, oh God. And she'll just shake her head. Oh God.
He just smiles with a grin and he says, it's an inside joke.
Oh, I'm positive you two will have a lot of inside jokes later. Air quotes. And we can end it there. So, thank you, players, for playing, and thank you, watchers, for watching.